Gurur Brahma, Gurur Vishnu, Guru Devo Maheshwara, Gurureva Param Brahma, Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Chinmayam Vyapyat Sarvam Trilokyam Sacharacharam Tattadam Darshitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah. Tvameva Mata Chatita Tvameva Tvameva Bandhuscha Sakha Tvameva Tvameva Medyanamamidam Tvameva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva Tvameva Sarvam Mama Deva Deva. Om Sahana Bhavatu Sahana Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. So do we have Deepa?
Yes, I'm here. Sorry, I was a couple minutes late earlier.
That's quite all right. God is good. You are here. All is well. What verse are we on?
We're on verse 34, I believe, or chapter 4.
Yeah,
Chapter 4, verse 34. Will you help us out, please?
sure. Tadviddhi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninastattvadarshinaha. Know that by long prostration, by question, and by service, the wise who have realized the truth will instruct you in that knowledge.
Yes. So we are wrapping up this section of the various kinds of sacrifices, meaning the ways in which people meditate. So what are we talking about? Almost anything can become a meditation. When we bring the mind to a single point, a single-pointed mind is as good as no mind. When we understand that the joy that we get out of focusing in a particular practice is actually a taste of the infinite. It's not in the practice. All of these various techniques work. Here, basically, Krishna then says another very important point. In these various methodologies, to use them as a spiritual practice, it's of great value to have a teacher. It's very interesting. Many of us have trust issues on the spiritual path, and for good reason. All sorts of horror stories of cults, of people being taken advantage of, etc. But if we look at something like this, so like Wendy, did you teach yourself how to cook?
No.
What'd you do?
Went to school, worked with restaurants, worked with people who knew more than I did.
Yeah. So you have restaurant Buddhas.
Yes, I did.
And for all your finance and accounting things, did you teach yourself?
No, I went to university.
Yeah. And do you like have an MSW?
No.
Do you have some sort of a training though in your work?
Yes.
Yeah. So these are the various devas that you propitiate. So what Gita is saying here is in worldly efforts, we're more than willing to take expert advice. Saves a lot of time to take expert advice. In the spiritual path, it's no different. So the suggestion is find someone who has what you want. And who themselves can instruct you in the path to the infinite by the various methodologies we have, be it Jnana Yoga, be it Bhakti Yoga, be it Kriya Yoga, be it Sufism, be it Buddhism, be it mystic Christianity, be it mystic Judaism. There are many, many paths to the infinite. What usually doesn't work is what I call supermarket spirituality. Well, I'm just going to take a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and I'm just going to follow my own path. It's okay in the beginning to test the waters, but back, for example, to cooking. There are many self-taught people who cook. A lot of them, what comes out isn't nearly as good as a professional chef. Why?
Experience, training.
You learn things that the ordinary people don't know. Like for a long time, I never sauteed onions. I just put them in the dish.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was you that was
Yeah.
telling me, why do you saute onions?
Mm-hmm.
Or when do you put the flour in to thicken something, and how do you do it? All sorts of things. When do you spice? At the beginning of it or toward the end? These are things just simply in the worldly craft of making good food. So on the spiritual path, I'm going to do it myself. Well, the practices for the beginner are different than those for the intermediate student. Certainly different for the advanced student. Too frequently in the spiritual path, we're arrogant. Oh, this is the greatest spiritual book ever written. Let me go to the last page and see what they, I want to skip all the hard stuff at the beginning. And then we wonder why we don't make progress. So here Krishna says, there are many paths. And I can again only share with you my own experience. Why am I a Vedantan? It was not my attraction to Vedanta. It was my attraction to a person. It was Swamiji. He had what I wanted. And then what he taught me made such sense. If he'd been a Sufi, I'd be a Sufi. He was a man of wisdom who wielded a valid means of knowledge. That's what you want to look for. Or a woman who wields a valid means of knowledge. Any thoughts on this? Now, that doesn't mean we can't explore other things to enhance our experience. There are some gurus who will say, if I accept you as a student, you can't read anything that I don't recommend, and you can't work with any other teacher. Who here has come in contact with that idea? Yeah. I do not agree with it. I think trust your intuition, stay with something and go into it in depth. But if you want to experiment here and there and see what you get, your own common sense will help you. You'll say, well, this isn't, this, yeah, come back. There's nothing to be afraid of. Any thoughts on this? All right, next verse.
Yajkyatva na punarmoha mevam yasyasi pandava yena bhutanya sheshena drakshasyat manyatho mayi. Knowing that you shall not, O Pandava, again get deluded like this, and by that you shall see all beings in yourself and also in me.
So in this jnana yajna, this sacrifice of knowledge, this Brahma yajna, it's knowledge of the self, knowledge of ultimate reality. It answers three questions. Who am I? What is my essential nature? What is this world and how has it come about? Those are the three questions that Veda Anta, the end of knowledge, Vedanta, answers. Answering these questions, you won't get deluded again. And what does self-realization give us? Two things. First, what I call existential freedom. Know beyond the shadow of a doubt, I am not the body. Consciousness, which never changes, which was never born, does not die. I'm safe. It's all okay. Nothing touches me. Secondly, finally, I found out where happiness is. Happiness is the mind, freed from attachment and craving, that can abide in the self. What I'm looking for, I'm looking with. Chidananda Rupaham. I am of the form of bliss consciousness. Shivoham. Shivo. I am Shiva. I am pure consciousness. I am auspiciousness. That's another meaning of the word Shiva. Won't make you rich. Won't make you 6 feet tall. Won't help you lose 30 pounds. Won't get you a house. But it'll free us from fear and show us how to be happy. Very simple. Oh, I want Siddhi's gym. I want to be able to fly through the air. So said, really? A bird could do that. Oh, I'm practicing very still, being very still. I'm going to meditate for hours and hours and hours and not move. Really? A stone could do that. I'm standing on one leg in Vrikshasana. Really, a tree could do that. What can a person do that the stone, the bird, the tree do? Know that I am Brahman. This is a knowledge, knowing which won't get diluted again. Next verse.
Api chedasi papebhya sarvebhya papakrittama sarvam jnanaplavenaiva vrijinam santarishyasi. Even if you are the most sinful of all sinners, yet you shall verily cross all sins by the raft of knowledge.
I love this verse. In most religions, sanctity is measured by how good, how moral our behavior and our thoughts are. In Christianity, you have infinite results for finite actions. You're trucking along in life and you're pretty good. Then you make a big mistake and sin, then you die. Oh, that poor guy died with no grace. He's going to go to purgatory for 10,000 years, or maybe even hell. Vedanta says, no one, no matter how sinful, is excluded from the peace of Vedanta. There are stories of saints who used to be murderers, robbers. And here is the great paradox. The religious person is a bad person trying to get good, an immoral person trying to become moral. The psychological person is a sick person trying to get well. But the yogi endeavors to get out. If you've packed up the garbage and you're taking it out, do you rummage through it first? If you're sick to your stomach and you run to the toilet, into the toilet, then you get on your knees and go, oh, I wonder what's in there. And the paradox of getting out is the way to heal the mind is to get out of the mind. The mind starts to naturally heal itself and right itself. The mind is no longer at war with itself. I was actually at an AA meeting last week. Speaker had 20 years of sobriety, and he'd spent 32 years in federal prison for murder. He was one of the humblest, peaceful people I've heard speak. Very clear that he had a deep connection to God. So a real spiritual path, even the greatest of sinners, is redeemable. Vedanta is the most compassionate of all philosophical and religious systems. Nobody's left out. Nobody is unworthy. Everyone is welcome. Not saying everybody's going to get realized this lifetime, but everyone can get value and get more peace of mind because there is something that's available to everyone. And if you look, for example, at Shankara's description of the fit student in Viveka Chudamani, nowhere does it say be a goody-goody. Nowhere does it say you have to belong to this caste or this religion. Just work on these specific qualities of head and heart. Idiot in, Jnani out. Just follow the path. Do what's suggested. See what happens. Any thoughts on this?
I have a question.
Yes,
Jan.
ma'am.
So part of what I've been doing over the last year or two is sort of making reparation where I did things that I wished I hadn't done. So that feels important to do,
Yes.
but I guess it's not to find some forgiveness. It just feels like the right thing to do.
Well, who's forgiving whom? Let's go into there. Are you seeking forgiveness from the people you've hurt?
Sometimes,
Yeah, it's probably sometimes may work, sometimes probably won't. But if part of the practice is, if you and I acknowledge, I was a jerk, I hurt this person, I harmed that person. I tell the truth, I did this, and I go to that person and say, this is what I did, and I'm sorry, and I'm going to work on never doing it again. This is not just being sorry and not seeking forgiveness.
Yeah, no, I guess, yeah, I'm more doing what you're saying, acknowledging and saying, I'm sorry.
And that is a tool that helps us let go of regret.
Right. Great.
Now, sometimes we can't. Let's say you've got a dead relative or a former partner
Mhm,
who won't talk to you.
mhm,
You can't make the amends.
mhm,
And you got to deal with it subtly.
mhm. Okay. Thank you.
But these are the tools that we do. By the way, self-abuse is not a tool of yoga. I'm such a terrible person. Why did I do that? I'm so sorry for what I did. That's not a tool. It's no good at all. Doesn't resolve the situation in the past, doesn't make you have any more peace of mind. It's pride in reverse.
Mm, wow. Okay.
Does that make sense?
That makes perfect sense. Yeah.
I don't quite follow. What is it? But can you say more? What pride in reverse
Oh, I'm
means?
such a terrible person.
Why is that pride in reverse?
Because rather than saying, oh, I'm a little bit better than everybody else, no, I'm so horrible. I'm worse than anybody. I don't know if in your monastic tradition, they ever talked about the sin of scrupulation.
No.
No, that's pretty old timey.
Yeah.
Scrupulation is when novices or monks, and they're first starting out, they understand that they want to stay clean, and then they go to their confessor and they confess their sins. And every day they got this list, I had a thought here, and I had this, my mind went worldly there. I mean, they were constantly beating themselves up. Oh, I'm so wretched. I'm so wretched. I'm so wretched. And that's not conducive to real spiritual growth. Where is the attentive faculty when we're in that mind state? What are you thinking about? Yourself, exactly. There's a balance here. It is of value to have a knowledge of the world outside and an understanding of the world inside. Know what the world can give and know what it can't give. And have some awareness of your own psychology. This is what I like about the first sutra of the second chapter of Yoga Sutra. Tapas Swadhyaya Yeshwara Pranidhana Kriya Yoga. I take it from the middle part first. For Patanjali, Swadhyaya means self-examination. It doesn't here mean study of my own study of the scriptures. That's what the Vedantins say. But I do an inventory. Okay, I can see that. I tend to be codependent, shall we say. Okay, I can see that. I have control issues. Well, I can see that. I'm obsessive about wanting to please people. I can see that. I'm judgmental. I can see that. Okay, I see that. Then you stand apart from it. I am not my mind states. Now, you can begin to do tapas, opposite idea. Not things like, I'm not controlling, I'm not controlling. No. The opposite idea. The healing thought is God's in control. Let it go. I'm judging other people. Oh, those are just my opinions based on the past. It's not real. Let it go. Subtle things. This is the tapas. With God's help. Yeshwara. All right. Was that useful?
Yes, very. Thank you.
All right. Next verse.
Yathe dhamsi samadh sorry. Yathe dhamsi samidhognir bhasmasat kurute Arjuna yanagni sarvakarmani bhasmasat kurute tatha. As the blazing fire reduces fuel to ashes, O Arjuna, so does the fire of knowledge reduce all actions to ashes.
Oh, this is such a wonderful verse. So the idea here is, as we renounce our identification with the sense of agency, I am not the doer. It is guna and karma that's the doer. Quality of mind and the force of the past. As we let go of our attachment to the fruits of action, the world isn't bad, it isn't good, it's shunyata, it's void. The happiness I seek is myself. Do your duty in the world. Don't have unrealistic expectations of what the world can give. Keep the mind intensely introverted. Focus on the self. When a personal sense of self arises, I see you for who you are. I have that witnessing consciousness. Soak the mind in Brahman. Drown the mind in this. Oh, oh. And as the body acts in the world impelled by the force of the past, we are not creating new vasana. Emptying it out. Anytime we can remember to tune up the mind with the attentive faculty introverted, we notice, oh, there's no Jim there, there's no Wendy there, there's no Mike or Daniel there. It's just Chidakasha, the space of pure awareness. It burns millions of vasanas. Those moments when my mind drops in, I feel that great peace. As the Hebrew psalmist says, rest in the Lord. Wait patiently. All those vasanas and how am I doing? What do they think of me? I need this, I need that. Whoosh, they just get roasted in the fire. Then what used to be an insistence, I must have this, I'll never put up with that, reduces to a level of preference. The scriptures use two wonderful images. It is like a length of rope that's been burnt. So for example, if you have modern times, if you go camping and you have a Coleman lantern. Any of you ever had a Coleman lantern when you go camping? And the wick is like a braided piece of cloth. And if the Coleman lantern runs out of oil or kerosene, the wick burns. Now it stays in the same shape, but you can't take that piece of cloth and wrap anything with it. It's not, just looks like the braided piece of cloth, just black. The other one is roasted seeds. So if you go to the market and you buy fresh garbanzo beans, you can sprout them. But if you put them in a frying pan and you roast them, they'll sprout it. They look the same. So when I have unroasted vasanas, they have the power first to rob me of self-experience. I forget that I'm that space of consciousness. And the mind projects Jiva Bhavana. I think I'm a person. And the things in the world are serious business. Ego always says, resolve the struggle of ego. Solve my problems. And here Krishna is saying, no. Doesn't matter what you do. Drop the struggler. Go. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
You're on mute.
Sorry.
No problem.
Nahi jnanena sadrusham pavitramiha vidyate tatsvayam yoga samsiddhi kalenatmani vindati. Certainly there is no purifier in this world like knowledge. He who is himself perfected in yoga finds it in the self in time.
Yes. So at the worldly level, if you're a Hindu and you've touched a corpse, you've got to go through ritual purity. If you're a Jew and you eat non-kosher food, then you've got to do something, a mikvah, to regain your purity. If you're a Christian and you have impure thoughts, you have to go to confession and get absolution to regain your purity. All of these are temporary. But for the yogi, the glass can be soiled. The liquid can be dirty, but none of it affects the space in the glass. As I go through my day, when I screw up, notice I didn't say it. Stop. Notice the nose. Did that touch me? No, I'm still. Chilakasha, the space of pure awareness. About a raise at work. Did that improve myself? No. I am already pure. Now, in the Eastern Orthodox tradition of Christianity, there's a term called theosis. It is usually interpreted as I'm going to keep working on myself, the person. God's going to get inside and change me. That's why I take communion and the sacraments and stuff like that. And I, the individual, am going to become more and more Christ-like. I have news for you. To try to make the equipment perfect is like trying to count to the highest number. For God's sake, work on developing character out of compassion for the rest of us. Don't be a jerk. But the finite can never become infinite. And the infinite can never be made finite. So the deepest understanding of theosis is the same as Vedanta. When I discover that the true nature of I is what God is. Jesus said, I and the Father are one. St. Paul said, let that mind be in you that was in Christ Jesus. Fabulous, fabulous teaching. Let that mind be in you that is in Lord Krishna. What is the mind that is in Lord Krishna? I am Brahman. I am the self in all beings. It's true. Yet quiet within. See whether it's true. You do not become godlike. You do not become a superwoman or superman. We rediscover that we've always been it. And that changes everything. Any thoughts on this? Next verse.
Shraddhavam labhate jnanam tatpara samyatendriya jnanam labdhva param shantim chirenadi gacchati. The man who is full of faith, who is devoted to it, and who has subdued the senses, obtains this knowledge, and having obtained knowledge, ere long he goes to the supreme peace.
Yes. So, first and foremost, let me back up. Self-realization is not difficult. The belief that it's difficult keeps people out of it. Oh, it's not for me. Too hard, too hard. But it's very rare. And it's very rare because nobody wants it. What is it? You'll be able to see through to the vast infinite that is the substratum of this universe, and you will see the fundamentally illusory nature of all name and form. I think I want that. Not as much as I want to get laid, though. Not as much as I want attention from other people. No, it's, you gotta want it. You have to become a mumukshu. Having the burning desire for liberation. That becomes the engine. Then again, as Patanjali says, Yoga Sutra boils down to abhyasa vairagyacha. Practice and intense renunciation. Before class, Wendy asked me to define vairagya, renunciation, detachment, dispassion. The root is raga, which means passion. It does not mean aragya. Aragya is like a rock. A rock has no feelings. The prefix is V, which is a superlative. We take our feeling nature to a higher level. Shankara defines it as that desire, meaning we don't achieve it overnight, to give up attachment to all experiences gained through the senses, all enjoyments, literally. It means all experiences gained through the senses. Doesn't mean we don't experience them. You cannot avoid experiencing them. Let them be. And that desire to let go of any personal sense of self. From the body, I am not the body, up to and including the form of Brahma, the creator, meaning the idea that I'm a powerful person. I'm enlightened, I'm awakened. I'm the guru. Gone. This is Vairagya. Back in the second chapter, Krishna said, when a person casts off all the desires of the mind or party and satisfied in the self by the self, then they're said to be a person of steady wisdom. That's all of yoga right there. All the important stuff. Here he's just rephrased. Any thoughts on this? Next verse. Are you muted?
No, I'm just kind of disoriented. Agyaschashra dadhanascha samshayatma vinashyati nayam lokosti na paro na sukham samshayatmanaha. The ignorant, the faithless, the doubting self goes to destruction. There is neither this world nor the other, nor happiness for the doubter.
So the person who doubts, who's identified with ego, who thinks I have to muscle my way through life on my own willpower, it may work for a while. But what we come to terms with when we have an ego-driven life is spiritual impotency. Trying to shoot an arrow at a target. Puny little willpower is not enough. And when we find that my puny willpower is not enough, ego then has two strategies. Pull out the bouquet of flowers to the world. Here, here, here. It's all manipulation. And when that doesn't work, I throw them down and pick up the baseball bat. Whack, 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 whack. When that doesn't work, let me try another bouquet of flowers. Here, here, here. Those are its two strategies. And they fail us in the end. The more frustration, disappointment we get, the angrier we get, the more despondent we get, the more we struggle. Some of us, well, maybe a little cocaine will help. Or, there's not enough, I'm gonna steal a little bit from this, that, and the other thing. Then we not only don't develop the qualities of head and heart that help us move to the infinite, we screw it up right here. Even that which we have, take it away. Lose it. Even in this world, a willful, nasty, controlling person who tries to dominate others is not very attractive. People run. Now, it may work for a while, but in time, it all catches up. Any thoughts on this? And of course, ego will say, the only way I've gotten anywhere in this world is by aggression. Take no prisoners. How is that making you feel? I'm miserable. And you could be miserable driving a Maserati, living in an expensive house. One of the things Krishna will say in Gita, no one is more fearful than a wealthy person. Always afraid somebody's going to take advantage of him. Which verse are we on, Deepa?
41.
And
You've
I
only
think
two
we got
left.
two left. Okay, I thought we were getting close to the end. Going on.
Yoga sanyasta karmanam Jnana samchinna samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibaddhanti dhananjaya. He who has renounced actions by yoga, whose doubts are rent asunder by knowledge, who is poised in the self as the self, actions do not bind him, O Dhananjaya.
So, reviewing our 5 elements of karma yoga. First, act. You will not get freedom by running away from the world. How should I act? According to my swadharma, according to my vasanas, my inherent latent proclivities. But do those activities in the yajna spirit, in the spirit of sacrifice. Serve the society, serve something greater than your own ego. Renouncing our attachment to the fruits of action. Thy right is to work alone, never to its fruits. It's all we get in life is work. Do what you love. And if you're in a situation where you cannot do what you love, work at loving what you do. Make it a practice. Let go of the fruits, the results. And then what he's been stressing in this chapter, I am not the doer. I am not the enjoyer. What is the doer? The force of the past. Qualities of the mind. The desires of other people. It is the mind that's the enjoyer. When the situation is conducive, the mind is happy. When the situation is non-conducive, the mind is unhappy. Situations are by nature impermanent. Give it up. Give it up. Don't be a bogey. Be a yogi. Understand the only happiness there is in the world is just a taste of myself. Own your own ananda and cultivate this non-mediated experience of the bliss of your own self-nature. Taste and see the goodness of the Lord. Then the world starts to take its proper proportion. Mind settles down. Actions cannot bind. First of all, your actions will start to be perfumed by your practice. You'll find yourself not as quite as selfish, not quite as self-obsessed, not quite as reactive, not quite as angry. Find you more forgiving, more single-pointed in the activities that you're given to do, of more use and help to others. Striving for excellence without being competitive. And at peace. Krishna will say, this will make you master of this world and the beyond. It's a paradox. All right, last verse.
तस्मादज्ञानसम्भूतं हृतस्थं ज्ञानासिनात्मनः छित्त्वैनं संशयं योगम् आतिष्ठोत्तिष्ठ भारत. Therefore, with the sword of knowledge, cut asunder the doubt of the self, born of ignorance, residing in your heart, and take refuge in yoga. Arise, O Bharata.
Yes. So with the wonder sword of knowledge, the sword of discrimination, to discriminate between the real and the unreal, between the self and the not self, between the permanent and the impermanent. Cut asunder these knots of the heart. All this ignorance. Or I think I'm a person. I think the world is solid and real and separate from me, and inherently joy-giving, misery producing. We cut those knots of ignorance asunder. Then the mind will easily come home. Abide in the sun. I like to use the example of the fan here. So right now, if you look up and you see the fan, there's electricity powering the fan. That's like the ego powering us through life. Wendy, if you reach behind there, turn the fan off. Keep looking at the fan. Well, it's still turning. It's still turning. Yeah, that's the inertia. That's what we call prarabdha karma, the karma of the body itself. But there's nothing left really powering it anymore. And then it's pure and pure, pure. All those stupid habits fall away. All that desire prompted activity falls away. Till it's all gone. This is the purification. Just like it took some time for the fan to slow down. Even when knowledge dawns on the mind, there's some inertia there. The yogi doesn't get disturbed by it, doesn't get involved. It's not real. It's not me. All right, there's the little Upanishad at the end.
Yeah. Om Tat Saditi Srimad Bhagwad Gita Supanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Jnana Karma Sannyas Yogo Nam Chaturtho Dhyayah. Thus in the Upanishad of the glorious Bhagwad Gita, in the science of the eternal, in the scripture of yoga, in the dialogue between Shri Krishna and Arjuna, the fourth discourse ends entitled The Yoga of Renunciation of Action in Knowledge.
All right, we'll end here tonight. We'll start the 5th chapter next week. And Deepaji, I think you're going to be here back in the Bay Area by then, won't you?
Yes, yes, I'll be there in person.
It'll be wonderful. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Guru Namaha. Hari Om.